Hi everyone, my name is Andrea Camacho, and my social studies lesson plan is about describing the lives of American heroes and the risks that they took to secure our liberties and our freedoms. So today the hero of focus is going to be George Washington, and I believe that one of the first things that every teacher should tell their students to do is to write their name on their papers, just because teachers don't really want to have papers without names, because then you have to spend a lot of time figuring out whose paper that is. So I'm going to write my name on it. Since this is the teacher's copy, then I'm just gonna write my name. And as I'm doing it, my students should also be doing that. So as you can see, my name's right there. Okay, so when reading a text, the first thing that I would have my students do is to number either the lines or the paragraphs. But since this paper has a lot of sentences, I feel like it's better to just number the paragraphs because they're very different sections and they're talking about very different things. So I have early life, I have soldier, I have Revolutionary War, government, president, and legacy. So I have 6 paragraphs, and I'm gonna number them 1 through 6. So I'm gonna put number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. So here it is. I have them all numbered 1 through 6. And the whole point of this lesson plan is to be able to describe the risks, right? The risks that they took. So I'm gonna have that focus in my head, and as I'm reading, I'm gonna be trying to find the answer or the answers of the risks that they took, right? That George Washington took in this case. So as I'm reading, I am also trying to pay attention to the answers that could help me solve this little worksheet that I have right here. And the whole purpose of this is to identify which word in the word bank right here answers these clues, right? So for example, I have Washington fought Britain in a war against this country. So that's a risk, that right? A risk that George Washington took to secure our liberties. So as I'm reading, I'm gonna be thinking about who was this country that Washington fought against, right? And who and where can I find it on this text? So for the materials, I would obviously ask my students to have a pencil instead of a pen, just because it's easier for them to make mistakes, and it's just better that they are able to erase easily, right? And I would also have them use anything that they can highlight with, just because it's easier to see the information that way. So the first thing that you always do when you read a text is to read the title, so that you can get a little bit more information about what the text is going to be about. So I would read the title myself, so I would say George Washington, and then my students are going to repeat after me. They're going to say George Washington, and that way they're going to, for example, if I'm reading it, if I, for example, start with Revolutionary War, which is the 3rd paragraph, and we've already read the 1st and 2nd, I'm gonna say in the 1960s. I'm gonna read it on my own out loud, and then my students are gonna repeat after me. They're gonna say in the 1960s, and then I'm gonna continue. Britain began raising taxes in the colonies, and then they're gonna say Britain began raising taxes in the colonies. So I think that this is a really good way to read a text, because they're listening to it once when I'm reading it, they're listening to it twice when they're repeating it, and they are That way, that the information just stays in their head, because they're saying it twice instead of just reading it on my own and listening to it once, or then just listening or reading it quietly. I think it's better that they're repeating it and they're listening to it 2 times. That way the information just sticks. So, for example, I'm going to continue reading that paragraph, and it says, let's see. So